So credit. Do I need credit? I can just pay cash on everything, right? Have you heard that before, Wendy?
Oh yeah. Well, grew up in Ramsey country. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was going to name names, but whatever. And don't get me wrong, I like Dave's stuff, about 60, 70% of it. But a lot of it's old, outdated. And let's be honest, folks. I mean, you can't really get away with paying cash that well. Some places don't even accept cash, which that's a whole other conversation. That's not really technically legal. That they, oh, we're cashless. You can't do that and have a business legally, but it's still, that's the norm now. What's going on? So it's so critical that you have good credit. And there's a lot of companies out there. Some of them are good. A lot of them are scams about, oh, we'll fix your credit or credit repair, or we'll lower your debt and things like that. But it has a negative impact to your credit because they don't tell you the whole story until you're already in it. So there's a lot that you can do on your own. But why is credit? Why is a good credit score so important? What do you think, Winnie?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one, it allows you to leverage. So there's so much when we're talking wealth building long term, right? There's a lot of people that use credit to help build their asset portfolio, real estate, for example. And if you don't have good credit, you can't do that. You can't use it as leverage to increase your wealth.
No, and that's the thing. And that's going back to the gurus out there that say, all credit is bad credit. That is wrong. That is wrong. Credit is a tool. You've got to have the discipline to use that tool, and you got to know when to use that tool and when not to use that tool, right? Credit for perks and living expenses and, stuff like that. That is not a good use of credit. Now, if you're the people out there that are using it for points, like your airline card or whatever, your travel card or whatever, and then you turn around and pay it off every month. I'm not talking to you, so don't blow up the commentary. What I'm talking about is people that are robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're living on their credit cards, and a lot of people are doing that now. We're almost creeping up on $2 trillion in debt right now, in consumer debt, and that's scary. That's a scary place to be. It's higher than it was in 2007, right before the last bubble, and we got some wobbly wheels going on. But it's so important for the simple fact that if I have an 800 credit score, right, and you, Wendy, have a 550 credit score, you're going to pay a lot more for the same items. And you may have to buy them at different places, like, rent to own places or things like this, because you don't have credit. And if you don't have credit at all, even if you pay cash for everything and you're a good guy or a good gal, right? We don't live in Walnut Grove anymore. We don't know, the banker or the store owner down the street doesn't know you and your family for the last 20 years. What do? They look at your credit score. That's how banks and lenders and companies know you now, is that credit score. That's why it's so critical, right?
And even renting.
Yeah. How do you think about that?
Looking to rent. That was one thing that I had to be aware of, is my credit score, because even family members of mine have rental properties, and even though it's individuals, they run that credit report and are very hesitant to rent to anyone with a low score. So that's important too.
Well, because a low credit score is an indicator of a lot of other things, and I'm not going to get into that, but I've posted a few things out on social media that talk about lower credit score areas. You look at what's going on in certain aspects, certain neighborhoods and things like that, and there's typically credit score ties into that, which, I'm not going to get into that political conversation because it's not political, it's factual. But it's one of those things that you've got to be very aware of it. And it's another aspect of your financial world, your financial house, that you really need to be aware of and take control of. Don't just sit back and let it happen, right? Oh, well, my credit score is low, I don't know what to do about it. It's not very difficult to get your score back up if you're disciplined and taking consistent action. So, the number one, obviously, and this isn't my technical number one, but pay yourself on time, right? Even if it's the minimum payment, pay it on time. Okay. And what I mean on time is like 2 or 3 days before the due date, not the due date. You pay it after the due date. The cool thing is, if you're late like a few days, not 30, but if you're late a few days, that's not really going to impact your credit score. You are going to get hit with a penalty, and they're usually pretty stiff, right? Yep. That's why I've got all my stuff set up on auto pay minimum payments. So that way I know definitely my minimum payment is going to be paid. Now I go in on the 1st and the 15th and look, and I pay the extra or pay it off or whatever the case may be, depending on what strategy I'm trying to do. And if you've got a lot of credit card debt, I'm going to say one word: debt snowball. No, Dave didn't invent it. Been around. A lot of other places have used it. Dave leveraged it and has built a business on it. But that works. So that's one way. But again, paying your bills on time.
Yeah.
And obviously limiting the number of inquiries. Those are the two Johnny Obvious, Captain Obvious
Mm-hmm.
in Indianapolis. But you look at why the credit inquiries, and I see people. I'm sure you have gone through stores and have seen, sign up for this credit card and get a free whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever
I
done-
hate, honestly, what shopping at Kohl's. It was Kohl's and not Ross, but one of TJ Maxx. Every time you go in, it's like the cashiers must be trained that you have to ask if you want to open a credit card. And it drives me crazy. And then especially Kohl's, they're like, but you get this, but you get that. And it's like, so I would get to the point at Kohl's, I go to the checkout, I say, hi, here's my card. No, I don't want a credit card. And no matter what you say, I'm not going to get a credit card. So please just run my card. My debit card, please. Thank you.
That is funny. I remember the very first experience I had with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college, and college students, if you're listening, they will come after you because they know you're going to college, probably going to get a degree and get a job, and you're going to make some money. So they try to get you early. And there was a card out there, and they're still around today. It's one of the big four, right? It's not a Visa, it's not a MasterCard, it's not American Express. So you figure it out. But they had other students there at the student bookstore, right, at the beginning of school. Hey, get a credit card, you get a free T-shirt. I'm 18. I just turned 18, right. And I'm like, well, I can get credit, and they're like, yeah, you're pretty much, you can get $1,000, da 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 da. And if you get $1,000, it's like $15 a month. I'm like, I can afford $15 a month. I got a free T-shirt. I signed up for it, and I had that card for a while. I don't have it anymore. Once I started waking up and realized what was going on, but they get you, and I've seen 2 free liter of soda. It's like people are signing up for it because they want that free stuff. But those credit inquiries really impact your score negatively.